Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. As you may or may not know, the game is currently in early access stage in the sense that the game is actually out, but those who bought the $100 deluxe edition will get to play the game early, which really is you get to play on time while everyone else who spent less money on the game gets to play it late. Now, I'll be checking out the game myself and reporting back, but I do want to talk about how the game is going in its early stage. Right now, there are a few controversial aspects beyond the fact that the game has just not been well received throughout its marketing cycle because it is a live service and people are not enjoying what they've seen of the gameplay. It just seems like a far cry from the legacy that the Arkham series established. One of the first aspects that has been raising eyebrows is the fact that Warner Brothers has been refusing to send out review copies, and specifically with IGN, it seemed as though they got some special treatment because of the negative coverage that they did for Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. So right here we have Tom Marks from IGN, who is the executive reviews editor for the outlet, who tweeted, "We won't have a review of Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League at launch as review codes have not been sent ahead of time. In fact, Warner Brothers Games has declined to send IGN codes at all. We'll get our impressions up as soon as we're able after release. Thanks for your patience." It seemed as though Warner Brothers specifically singled out IGN because when they did their hands-on preview for the game, they straight up said that they didn't like what they saw and played of the game so far, hoping that things will improve when they get to experience the full game. And that, to me, right there is an incredibly shady move on the part of Warner Brothers because it's not media outlets' jobs to give positive impressions. Their job is to give honest impressions to inform potential customers and consumers and players. And if IGN didn't like it, that's within their right to say. And the fact that Warner Brothers is denying review copies based on what your outlet says, and if you do negative coverage and you're denied review copies and they're being selective about who gets review copies, that's them trying to essentially manipulate the narrative surrounding the game. That's them trying to skew initial impressions and reviews. And it's something that's being discussed about at length by members of media outlets. Tom Marks replied to his own tweet with, "To be clear, this sort of situation is exceedingly rare in my experience, and it's not going to change anything about how we cover games, Suicide Squad or beyond." Destin from IGN also chimed in with his thoughts on all of this and how just off-putting the situation is, stating that "I gave Curse of Osiris a 5.5 out of 10 and Bungie still sent us codes. Suicide Squad not sending IGN codes after my negative preview is ridiculous, and I'm not even on the review. Even the sponsor stream had characters fail to appear during cutscenes while CM deleted comments criticizing the gameplay. Several other previews echoed my criticisms." And that's true. Reading through or watching a lot of the hands-on previews for Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, I feel like a lot of outlets and a lot of folks who got their hands on the game were essentially criticizing the game for the same things. And to see a gaming company be petty about that by not distributing review copies for those who had negative initial impressions, like that is straight up anti-consumer. They're trying to minimize criticisms surrounding the game prior to its launch so that customers and potential players are as least informed as possible about the potential shortcomings of the game. And even those outlets who haven't been blacklisted from getting review copies of Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League are getting their review copies basically when the game launches, so there won't be any opportunity to do pre-release coverage for this game, before people are able to shell out money for this game. So Cade Onder here, who is from News Outlet Comic Book, tweeted, "I've received confirmation that Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League review codes will go out next week when the servers are turned on. As such, do not expect any reviews prior to launch." Journalist Jeff Grubb confirmed this to be the case as well, tweeting, "I'm not expecting Suicide Squad reviews before the game releases. Seems like review codes won't go out until the servers go live with the retail version. Could change." It didn't. Here we have Paul Tassi from Forbes who discussed this in an article where he talked about how I've been waiting for updates from the communications team for about 2 weeks now and was supposed to hear something official yesterday but didn't. The explanation is supposedly that since this is an always online co-op game, the servers simply aren't going to be turned on until the actual release on Tuesday the 30th. But I personally don't buy that excuse. I feel like if the optics surrounding Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League were positive, if they were confident that the game would garner overwhelmingly positive reception, they would have absolutely found a way to ensure that there was a way for media outlets to play the game early and give their impressions early. If you ask me, this is definitely Warner Brothers seeing the writing on the wall surrounding this game, understanding that the reception of this game will likely not be positive, and them trying to keep customers as least informed as possible and trying to do damage control so that those negative reviews don't go out before the game goes live and does damage to the potential sales figures of the game. This is very much all a very corporate tactic is what this feels like. And like, yes, this game is live service, but it does have a campaign that you can play by yourself. That was part of the marketing campaign of Suicide Squad, where they straight up said that you can play co-op, but if you just want to go at it solo, that is something we straight up offer. And for that, there shouldn't be an always online requirement in the first place, but that was implemented, so there's no way to play through the campaign even by yourself unless you're online, and that's being used as an excuse to be like, I'm sorry, we can't give you copies early, we can't allow you to play the game early because servers and stuff. And it'd be one thing if the lack of early access review copies was communicated way beforehand, but the fact that there was no communication surrounding this at all indicates to me that Warner Brothers, they were weighing their options and decided last minute, let's not distribute review copies, because they knew how this was all going to play out. They knew that the negative reception could negatively impact their bottom line. And so it just feels like they were biding their time and weighing their options, and they came upon the decision last minute to not distribute copies and then use the excuse of, oh, servers aren't online, as a way to try to make this seem like it was a technical reason rather than a corporate reason. And when you think about the fact that they're charging $100 to gain early access to the game, charging people $100 while keeping them blind when it comes to what the general reception surrounding this game is, keeping them in the dark essentially, it really starts to get pretty shady the way Warner Brothers is approaching this. And then optics surrounding this whole early access period gets worse when you consider how rough it went, where people could not access the game because of its online requirement, because they had to go into maintenance mode after a major bug was discovered. As Video Games Chronicle reported here, Rocksteady was forced to pull Suicide Squad servers offline an hour into its early access release after players experienced the bug, which automatically completed the game when they logged in. Yeah, that's a pretty major bug. And so players who paid $100 to get early access to this game on the hour of were met with this error message: sorry, our servers are currently in maintenance mode. Please visit Warner Brothers Games for service updates. This was a situation that the official Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League Twitter page acknowledged in a tweet that reads, we're aware that a number of players are currently experiencing an issue whereby upon logging into the game for the first time, they have full story completion. To resolve this issue, we'll be performing maintenance on the game servers. During this time, the game will be unavailable because of its always online requirement. The implementation of that has proven to be woefully unfortunate for the early access experience here. And then it continues to expect this to take several hours and will update once we have more information. We apologize for the inconvenience. About 5 to 6 hours later, they provided the following update: we have identified the problem that was affecting player profiles and are currently testing a fix. We hope to implement it and have the game back online as soon as possible. Thank you for your patience. People who paid $100 to gain early access to the game found themselves being unable to access the game for hours on end. A lot of time wasted in this early access period that was supposed to make paying extra for this deluxe package worthwhile. When you're doing early access stuff like this, what a situation like this does is render the early access value significantly less. And then to make matters worse, after they kind of fixed this whole situation, the following day on January 30th, they announced another round of scheduled maintenance that took the game offline and rendered the game inaccessible for people who wanted to play this game in early access. So yeah, this has just been kind of a mess. And this has not gone unnoticed by social media. Tweets like these have gone viral. Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League not sending out review codes and then launching early for people who paid $100+ to pre-order, only for the servers to immediately be taken down because of a massive bug that auto-completed the game for you on startup is, good sign. This tweet alone garnered over 23,000 likes and almost 1 million views. There's a general agreement that this early period of Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League's launch does not bode well for its future. And people who experienced servers going into maintenance mode as they were playing the game discussed how this disrupted their experience. John Linman from Digital Foundry, for example, encountered this situation where, man, talk about a mood killer, cool sequence with Batman, and then it freezes here for a second, followed by this error. The error that servers have gone into maintenance mode, thereby making the game inaccessible due to its online requirement. Now, Warner Brothers tried to make it up to players by gifting in-game currency that can be spent for upcoming new content and cosmetics and the like. But for a lot of people who purchased the $100 edition to gain early access, only for that early access period to be completely marred, this was not satisfactory enough. And so apparently, after the whole situation where early access was marred by maintenance periods for servers, the refund searches for Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League surged by 790%. So that should tell you that there is certainly a crowd who were like, screw this, I'm out. And then adding to all of that is the fact that early impressions surrounding Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League from those who did gain early access to the game and have played through the campaign or have played an extensive amount of the game have been kind of mixed. I've not been seeing any sort of like glowing reception or overwhelming positivity. So Destin from IGN here, for example, he recently finished Suicide Squad, completed the story, and tweeted that overall a very mixed bag in my opinion. Some fun story stuff, some story stuff that left me scratching my head as to why they would go that route. I'm still not loving the actual gameplay, but maybe it gets better as they do endgame stuff. Looking forward to reading the reviews. And then the length of the campaign itself, it's shorter than I was expecting based on what Destin is saying here. Apparently, beating the campaign will take you roughly 9 to 10 hours based on his capture time, probably a little shorter if you don't do some boss fights with underleveled characters. Though of course mileage may vary from player to player depending on how much they explore the world and how many side activities they do, but Destin here straight up said that he took his time. This includes interacting with every single thing in the museums at the beginning, etc. So it looks like a lot of the playtime of Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League is banking on the live service aspect, on the post-game being compelling, and yet that's the area that a lot of people are concerned about when it comes to the longevity of this game and the fun factor of this game. Somebody else who talked about their experience with the game was Paul Tassi from Forbes, whose initial impressions were very positive. Gunplay feels great and extremely fast-paced. Traversal is solid, though Harley Swing, my planned main, is going to take some time to master. Boomerang probably felt the best, but yeah, good start. But then fast forward to his impressions after having played the game for a few more hours, and he tweeted, first impressions of Suicide Squad after the first few hours, moment-to-moment gunplay is fun. I am somewhat less sold on the rest of the game so far. So that just seems to be the general impression. Like, it makes a strong first impression, but as you keep playing through the game, the luster of the game begins to diminish, and it seems as though it just starts to lose its hook. Though I do plan to get my hands on the game and maybe report back and express my thoughts and opinions on what my experience has been like with the game. But just based on what I've seen, footage, and based on what previews I've read and seen, I just feel like this is not going to be my kind of game. But, you know, I hope to be pleasantly surprised. And then finally, to top off the negative optics and impressions surrounding this game in its early stage and during its launch period, it's been reported that Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League has recently snuck in Denuo DRM, which is wholly and universally hated, especially by PC gamers, because it's been proven that Denuo negatively impacts a game's performance. Now, as of yet, I've not heard too many complaints about how the game performs on PC. Again, I'll check the game out for myself and see how it plays. Hopefully, the Denuo DRM in this situation doesn't have a huge performance impact, but just in general, the implementation of Denuo DRM is seen as a negative element that doesn't help what has been a rough marketing period for Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. It's not made a positive impression once since gameplay for this game and the live service nature has been revealed. The Denuo DR implementation is just not going to help. I'm curious to see how this game will perform in the long term, whether its content updates and live service elements will be enough to maintain it, or if it will fall under the same fate as, say, Marvel's Avengers, a superhero game whose branding obviously carries a lot of weight, but the execution of its ambitions was lacking enough where people eventually lost interest and the live service died unceremoniously. I hope this game is more than I think it'll be, but so far, impressions and early goings-ons and the way Warner Brothers is handling things like reviews and whatnot, early impressions, all that stuff is giving me a very bad feeling overall about the game's future prospects, but only time will tell. In the meantime, let me know in the comments below what your thoughts and opinions are on how things are going for Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League in its early stages of release. And if you yourself have gained access to the early access of this game, how have you been enjoying this game? Is it something that's jiving with you, or have your concerns been validated now that you've gotten your hands on it? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out.